and thank you for being here at the Itron Tantalus Luncheon. We're excited to have you here. I'm Allison Malahan. I'm with Itron's Corporate Communications Department, and we're excited to be able to share a little bit with you about Itron and Tantalus partnership to bring automation to the municipality and corporate and public power markets. With me today, we have Frank Piscatelli from Itron. He's the VP of Distribution. Tammy Zucco from Tantalus is the Chief Marketing Officer there. And then we have a special guest, Terry Rosenthal, who is the Manager of Engineering at Laclede Electric Cooperative. Also glad that we have Eric Murray, Tantalus CEO, here with us today. And at this time, I'm going to have Frank come up and tell us a little bit more about the partnership. Frank, as I said, is our VP of Distribution. He's in charge of sales and support for co-ops and municipalities in our North America market, and he's been in this industry for over 30 years. Join me in welcoming Frank.
Well, good afternoon and welcome. Sounds nice and loud. We're excited at Itron about the Tantalus and Itron strategic relationship. It was started back in September of last year, and it allows you and the municipals in the United States to utilize a lot of your existing equipment. It's strategic in nature in many ways. We have a shared goal to have a simple, cost-effective way for all of you to utilize your existing Itron products. We've combined the Itron metering platform and the TuNet's two-way system to allow you to deliver not only AMI to smart grid. In addition, we've coupled the use of Itron's gas and water endpoints into the TuNet system to allow you to utilize two-way capabilities to gas and water endpoints. One advantage that's got me excited is all your utility assets that you purchased from Itron in the past can be utilized with the TuNet system. It can simply read the data from either an electric, water, or gas endpoint and bring that information back to your billing system. You can move from a mobile or drive-by system to a TuNet two-way system, and you can do that either strategic throughout your entire system or strategically for a C&I application or a disconnect application. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Tammy.
Thanks, Frank. We're excited to be here. The partnership that we've formed with Itron, we believe provides a game-changing solution for co-ops and needs in the public power market. As Frank said, if you've already invested in Itron's drive-by or handheld system or in the ERT modules, water, gas, or electric, we've got a solution that we've developed jointly with them so that you can utilize those assets for years to come and not have to necessarily switch those out initially, so that you can still take advantage of smart grid applications. Applications that Frank mentioned, like remote disconnect and prepay, as well as demand management. Those are things that traditionally haven't been enabled by handheld or drive-by systems. So there's a lot of value in this joint solution, I think, not only for customers, co-ops like some of you who already own electric ERT, but also if you're just starting out on the smart grid path, or if you have already invested in a power line carrier or another type of system where you're not able to carry that system into the future and actually realize the benefits of smart grid. If all you're doing is meter reading, basically, from some of those systems, we're able to transition you and evolve you to a two-way smart metering system where you can take advantage of those applications. So why did Itron choose Tantalus for this marketplace solution? So I want to talk to you just a little bit about TuNet, which is our Tantalus's platform for smart grid. We think of TuNet, it's not an AMI system, it's a smart grid solution. That solution allows you to do your basic meter reading as well as access to real-time data that allows control over those applications, like I just mentioned. One of the new ones that we introduced and have functioning at Morristown Utility Systems. We just released a white paper on it this week around dispatchable conservation voltage regulation. And so the potential of applications like that with the smart grid system is much greater for your investment that you've already made in your ERTs. And so we're able to bring that to you without having to change all those out and for smart meters. So another reason we think that Itron has chosen the TuNet application to deliver in this market space for munis and co-ops is because we're dedicated to this space. We're committed to the public power market space. We don't focus on investor-owned utilities, so in terms of TuNet, so we're dedicated to our public power munis and co-ops. So we're not going to get sidetracked with these large investor-owned demanding deployments like some of our competition does. So we're, the co-ops and munis are number one to us, and that's all that we basically focus on. Another reason why we think that TuNet is good for this space and why we think Itron chose to work with us in this space is because our design of our wide area network and local area network platform is very flexible and very scalable. And we're able to deploy in areas where many of our competitive solutions are not. We've got deployments in very rural areas such as the Rockies. We've got deployments in the Appalachian Mountains. We've got deployments in Alaska. We've got deployments that are as low density as 4 meters per line mile. So many of you may come from the school of thought that wireless doesn't work in those areas, but we've proven that it does. We have over 40 deployments in those types of situations. Another reason we think that Itron has chosen to work with us is the ease of deployment for our system. Most of the time, our system, in most situations, is up and running and connectivity is established within a couple of days, which is very different from some of the competing technologies that are wireless. We have a flexible platform that enables us to provide different types of deployment options. So we're not just focused on 220 RF or 900 RF. We've also got options around cellular, fiber, Ethernet, WiMAX. So we feel like we can migrate you as the time comes. You don't have to choose right up front which technology you want to go with. We have plenty of customers that are doing fiber to the home, but also have wireless in areas where we're not having uptake on fiber to the home. So I think our deployment options is another reason that Tantalus and TuNet is a good option for many co-ops and munis. A couple of our deployment scenarios. Frank mentioned the surgical or strategic type deployments. And that's something we like to talk about because in many cases, some of you have already deployed power line carrier or and you're not able to do some of the advanced smart grid applications you'd like to do. For example, advanced polyphase for your commercial and industrial customers. We can, strategically or surgically deploy that to a certain area of town. We can, piggyback on fiber to the substation or whatever you might have there to utilize some of the existing assets that you already have. That way you can get a more immediate payback, a quicker ROI on that investment, as opposed to having to do a full deployment and rip out what you already have put into place. As I was mentioning around the Ethernet and fiber, we have what we call our home run network. And we have a setup in our booth, if you'd like to come by and take a look at that, which is probably one of the areas that we've been very successful in the past few years with utilities who are doing triple play services around using Ethernet or fiber. And we're able to add that smart grid leg to it, and we call it our home run network. That way you can capitalize on the business case for your fiber deployment by adding the smart grid to it. Another one of our strategic our deployment options that I mentioned was the power line carrier overlay, where you're deploying possibly an overlay situation where you want to have real-time access to data where the power line carrier may not be able to accommodate that. And the last scenario, I believe, is the most compelling one, and that would be our ERT overlay option that we're working on with Itron, where we actually can go in and utilize all the electric ERTs. In most of your cases for co-ops, it would just be electric, probably not gas and water, but we can do that for our municipal customers. And read those ERTs and also allow you in concentrated areas to do prepaid, to do remote disconnect, to do advanced demand management applications, load control, demand response. We've got deployments like in Lamb County, Texas, where we do irrigation control, and that's pretty much all that utility does. That's how they make their money on that, and how they've gotten their payback on the business case for the smart grid system that we deployed there. So we're very excited about this whole ERT overlay thing. We think it gives utilities like yourselves, co-ops, a big advantage in being able to cost effectively deploy this. So that's all I'm going to say about TUNet, because I'm going to let Terry fill in the gaps here, things that I haven't talked about, the real stuff that you guys deal with on a day-to-day basis. But I did want to mention, we feel like this is not just a partnership that you see announced in the media, tons of smart grid partnerships, and then you wonder, hey, has anything come out of that? Do they even have any customers yet, or whatever? And so, we're very committed to that, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have this today, to let people know how committed we are to the public power market space and this joint relationship. And so what we've done, since September when we announced this so far, we've already introduced in January in Marketplace the TUNet-enabled Sentinel meter for polyphase. So that was something we didn't have in our product line before. So we've already got that available for order, and we're implementing that at Jackson Energy Authority in Tennessee in a couple of months. We're also adding capabilities to the Centron line around the Centron 2, where we'll be doing the remote disconnect and the prepaid integration. As well, coming out later this year, we've got the combined electric, water, and gas head-in joint multi-commodity system that we'll be deploying as well. So I think what we've already done and what we've already accomplished, in this partnership so far speaks to how committed we are going forward. This is not just an announcement that we're going to change something in a few months and then you'll see something else. We're very committed to this, and we hope that the co-ops will see that and realize that we're here for the long run to service you in terms of your smart grid needs and work with you on an individual basis on how to do that. So now I want to let Terry. He's from Laclede Electric Co-op in Lebanon, Missouri. He's one of our long-standing great customers, and I'm going to turn it over to him and let him tell you a little bit about his experience.
Thank you, Tammy. Our experience I was asked to come and discuss a little bit about our experience, obviously, with Itron and Tantalus. And we've had a long-standing relationship with Itron for many years. Even though we weren't an ERD user, we've been obviously using their electric meters, kilowatt meters for many, many years. And our relationship with Tantalus really started in 2008. Our board of directors was looking for a path to migrate from about 70 independent contractors that were doing our meter readings to more of a technology-based solution. And we, through our due diligence and through our selection process, we ended up looking very hard at Tantalus as a solution. And I think a little bit of background, it might help explain a little bit of how we got to that basis. Was the Electric is about 35 to 36,000 meters in the southwest part of Missouri. We do have, I wouldn't call it mountainous terrain, I would call it Ozark Hills, but they can be very challenging to RF propagation. And we cover about 1,500 square miles roughly, and we were obviously looking for a way. We have some areas in our southern parts of the territory that are very less populated than some of our northern territories. So we had some varying densities of customer base. So one of the things that was beneficial to us looking at was being able to look at how can we cover our entire territory and deploy meters on our schedule as needed. And with 27 substations, we obviously were looking at how could we best maximize the coverage of our full territory with being able to deploy a meter at any location at any time. So what we ended up doing was we ended up actually selecting Tantalus as a vendor in October of 2008 and selecting Itron as our meter provider at that same time. And we did a full replacement or scheduled a full replacement of all 36,000 meters. So we bought all new meters from Itron with the factory integrated 2net module. And we set about constructing 7 220 megahertz towers across our territory that would cover the our entire system. And we built those in December of 2008, January, and February of 2009. And that was our first goal, was just to get the infrastructure in place, build all 7 towers. And then scheduled with Itron the shipment of meters over the next 24 months. We were shooting for a 24-month rollout deployment to have all meters up and communicating. And began using a contractor to do field exchanges and the data delivery of that meter exchange. And we ended up finishing in about just slightly less than 18 months. So we were finished by August, September of 2010. And that was all including our polyphase meters and residential meters. So we've seen a number of benefits. Obviously, we did accomplish our goal of getting our meter readings taken care of. We no longer have any independent contractors working for us reading meters. And we also have been integrating the data that's coming back from the 2net system and the Itron meters into our back office solutions, including outage management, which has been a real testament to, it wasn't high on our list of goals initially setting out. It was one of those things where we said, well, if we can get outage indications and restorals, that would be great. But the number 1 goal was meter reading. Number 2 goal was interval reads, two-way system, and I'd say the outage indications and push messaging was a little further down the list. But as we've come to use that information, it's amazing that the amount of data that we can process and act upon to provide a better level of service to our members. And, not only from when are they out, but for the restore message as well. I think that we've seen in the RF spectrum anyway, we've seen some very good propagations along both the mesh and the 220. It's not unheard of for us to see several miles of stable communications between the 900 megahertz mesh endpoints, and 15, 20 miles or more on the 220 from a tower down to a collector. We're kind of migrated to some extent from 2010 when we finished, now through 2011 and into 2012 into a operations and maintenance mode from a deployment mode. And we're still seeing good results. I believe out of our 36,000 meters, last month we had to go read 6 of them. And that's been fairly consistent over the last several months.
Thank you so much, Terry and Tammy and Frank, for talking to us. And we want to open it up now to any questions that you have for our panelists. We do have a mic going around to you.
Terry?
Yes.
Are you using the system for other downline monitoring reasons besides just outage management?
Well, we have voltage indications as well as blink indications that are pushed in from these meters.
Is that an alarm based?
It's alarm based. We set thresholds on those as well as receive them. We have our system set for 6-hour reporting on the power quality side of things. We're looking at now to try to find ways to, data mine that a little bit better than, and be able to actually do some analysis on it a little bit better.
Are you looking at voltage optimization?
I saw the presentation at Tantalus's user group meeting back last July, I think it was in Nashville, on this voltage issue, and it's intriguing, and I'm monitoring it very closely, and it looks like something that could be beneficial to us. Depending on what happens with our power supply as our wholesale provider, and what kind of billing messages they're sending to us, it very well could be. To finally answer that, it's a very intriguing. My personal background was more in control engineering, and all of a sudden we're talking about a closed loop feedback system at every endpoint.
Do you have any other questions?
I have a question. If that's
Depends on who has to answer.
and this is geared more towards Itron, and just curious. We're excited about the relationship between. We were both an Itron customer and a Tantalus customer before this was announced, obviously. And so it's intriguing for us to think about. And one of the questions that came to my mind, especially after February, as Itron announced plans to acquire SmartSync, is how do you see this all fitting together? You have your legacy ERTs, your OpenWay, SmartSync, which you're planning to acquire or in the process of acquiring, and now this relationship with Tantalus. I'm just curious how it all fits together.
It's a good question. I think it's going to be driven by the customers and your needs, and applications. Obviously, in your situation, it's pretty settled. But those 6 meters that you missed, if Tantalus, this is an oddball example maybe, but those 6 meters, if they are continually meters you can't get to, that might be an application where you could put in a direct connect solution. But again, it's a short answer, but I think that is the most appropriate. It's going to depend upon the customer's application and their needs. I hope I answered it.
I think so. I'm just curious. It seems to me that the intent was to have a solution for every type of customer.
I think you said it well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Allison, are you using the Tantalus system for other reasons, station video monitoring or some other use besides the meters?
You're talking about the actual data communications path.
Yeah.
The only thing that's on that data path right now, on the 2net data's comm circuits, are the Tantalus meters at this point. I will say that we're considering, and we don't have fiber to the home. Some of the Tantalus customers are in a more dense area where they're offering triple play services or fiber circuits. We do have fiber communications that we have to our substations and other internal communications, it's just not everywhere. And one of the things we're considering is would we drop on some fiber nodes to build out the mesh network instead of using the 220 megahertz? And would there be any benefit to that on speed issue?
Besides better reliability, are there other services that you're going to be offering your residents?
The question was, I think, if we were going to offer any other services to our membership. And right now, we're in the process of taking the interval data that comes from the TuneNet system and porting that to a meter data management solution and exposing that data to our membership as some form of analysis tools for them, energy savings tools, as well as what we'd like to see is some benchmarking tools for our members so that they could. The question I get a lot from our members is that, well, I see you sent me a bill for 1,500 kilowatt hours. Is that good? Is that bad? Is that worse than my neighbor? And I think that from an energy efficiency and management standpoint is we have to be able to provide to our membership that tool to be able to say, this is fairly consistent with good energy management practices. Or no, you're maybe a little higher, or you're doing better.
So you are doing
It's a matter of now being able to get that data into the members' hands in a format that they can understand and act upon.
Got a question. How long does it take to ping an individual meter versus reading your entire system?
Well, the system reads, it's a push system. So the system, we've got our system set up to read all our residential meters on an hour basis. And then our C&I meters on a 15-minute basis. And that data is typically in our office very shortly after the hour or very shortly after 15 minutes. You can do a request read, and if we do a request, I mean, if we normally have a meter that would have an 11 o'clock and a 12 o'clock reading, and we want a 12:05 reading, we can do a request read on it. Typically, they're back in the office in less than a minute.
So just to expand on that a little bit, the TuneNet system, most of our customers right now are probably set up similar to the way that Terry is on hourly residential and 15-minute polyphase or commercial and industrial. But one of the advantages, I think, of the TuneNet system is it allows you on all of those to do 15-minute intervals every 15 minutes, as opposed to a lot of our competing technologies who say they do 15-minute intervals, but they don't do them every 15 minutes. So you have to be very careful when you're asking that question to understand that as a utility and to get that feedback. You know, how if you're valuing real-time data, if that's a value to you in order to be able to do automatic conservation voltage regulation, you want real-time data. And real-time data is not hourly data. So, and you know, that's 15-minute interval data every 15 minutes is different from 15-minute data, period.
So for your outage management system, how does your OMS system know that there's an outage? You have to wait for the hour?
No. The outage messages are pushed as well, and
okay.
So it's not a request for an outage indication or any part of the power quality requested reads. It is, as soon as that meter is out of power, it sends a message through the system that I just went out, and it comes through multi-speed over to our outage management system, and is then grouped by the outage management system based on the connectivity model.
So hopefully you haven't experienced this, but if you have a massive outage, substation outage, something like that, and you get thousands of messages at once, is that presented a problem at all to you?
Not yet. We had a tornado come through last week, and we had about 4,500 meters that went out all within minutes of each other. And we received we're kind of in a post-analysis at this point. That was the largest single outage event that we've had since we've had the integration to our outage OMS working. And it did an accurate prediction we were showing that we were getting in the neighborhood of 50 to 60% of the meters had sent their message in within a short enough time frame that the OMS grouped them together properly. But we're still doing some analysis on that. Is there ways that we can make that better? But you got to remember, we were also getting, in the past, if we had a substation outage, if we got 10% of the members on that to actually call in and actually punch an outage into the OMS. So here we're getting 60, 70% typically on big outage, and usually close to 100%, if not almost 100% on smaller outages.
How is the restoration? I think that sometimes is even more important.
Yeah, we're still working. The restoration is one of those things that we don't have. We've tested the creation of the confirmation restoral, and that the OMS has a function that if it doesn't receive the restoral message, it will break whatever meters out to individual outages again. But we're still testing that.